There's a new CNN ORC poll out that asks the American people what they think of this Congress. The results are not surprising, but they are overwhelming. So, how many Americans think this is the worst Congress ever? Ever? 66%. The overwhelming majority say this is the worst Congress ever. How ridiculous is that? Well, actually, it's not ridiculous. It's ridiculous that Congress is that bad where they could make 66% of the people say this is the worst Congress ever. And they're not wrong. I mean, there's been a record low number of bills passed, a record high level of obstruction. There was the government shutdown, which needlessly took $24 billion and flushed it down the toilet. And the list goes on and on. I mean, we covered a poll from just after the government shutdown that the approval rating of Congress dropped to 9%. 9%! That's so low it hurts your head to think about it. Single digits. You do know percents go out of 100, right? And just to put that in perspective, the British Crown, when they ruled us right before the revolution and during the revolution, they had a higher approval rating than 9%. I mean, that shows you just how much Congress has lost touch with the American people. But I mean, you can't have a conversation about this without bringing up the elephant in the room. The only issue that matters. The cancer in our political system, which is corruption. We have a system in the United States where we have legalized corruption. When somebody runs for president or senator or representative, what do they need to do? Raise money. And 95% of the time, the person that raises the most money wins. So what do you have to do? You got to sell out all over the place. Whether if it's at a state level or if it's at a local level, go sell out to the small businesses nearby. If it's at the national level, sell out to ExxonMobil, Chevron, BP, Walmart, Verizon. You name the mega corporation or you name the Wall Street firm, you got to sell out to them as well. All, you know, the different hedge funds and whatnot and investment banks. You got to sell out to all those people and they'll give you money. And then when you get elected and you get in office, who do you represent? You represent them, the special interests, the corporations, the rich. And you almost always snub the American people, the middle class and the poor. I mean, I can give you so many different examples of how it's so obvious that this is the case. So here's just one, and it's probably the most interesting one because they're so brazen about it. 91% of the American people following Sandy Hook were in favor of a universal background check, no loopholes for gun purchases. We couldn't even get a watered-down background check bill passed. Why? Because the NRA, you know, big lobbying group, and the gun manufacturers who fund the NRA and also just fund the politicians directly, they lobbied the shit out of the Republican congressmen and some Democrats from red states, and they blocked the legislation. Well, they said, well, look, we already know that the Democrats are going to need 60 votes to pass anything because they filibuster everything, so you need the supermajority to pass it. So all they need to do is make sure that the Democrats don't get to that 60 vote number. And they did. They bought off enough politicians where they did the will of the last people who should be setting the policy, the people who make money from selling guns, okay? And who got screwed over? 91% of the American people. A majority of Democrats, independents, Republicans, and gun owners, and members of the NRA. How's that for irony? Just the leadership of the NRA and the gun manufacturers screwed over everybody. Everybody. Why? Because money rules our politics.